Algebra 2 Common Core, rational equation word problems. So in the previous video, we learned about rational equations, and that was basically, fractional type of equations. But now we're throwing word problems into the mix. And what you're going to see here a lot of the times, we talk about rates. This is talk about how fast Sam can paint a room, and then Jenna, how fast can she paint a room? Well, if they work together, how fast can they paint a room? That type of thing. It's helpful to always, when you're evaluating these rate type of questions, to remember to set up a ratio as a fraction and set that up in a format of task over time. So task over time. Just keep that in mind. So let's take a look at some of these examples. When Sam is working alone, he can paint one room in 6 hours. So what is Sam's ratio of rooms painted per hour? And so the task is he can paint one room, and he does this in 6 hours. So we want to think of Sam's rate as 1 over 6. And again, that's one room in 6 hours. And we can get the decimal equivalent of that, but that is his rate per hour. Let's see what is that as a decimal? Let's see what that is. 1/6. I mean, it's going to be something we'll have to round a little bit, but we'll say, all right. So that's about 0.16. So he could paint about 0.16 or 16%, 17% of a room per hour, kind of thing. But let's just think of it as 1 over 6. He can paint one room in 6 hours. When Jenna is working alone, she could paint one room in 4 hours. So Jenna's rate would be one room in 4 hours. All right. How long would it take them to paint one room if they're working together? So what we need to do is we are going to add their efforts together. We are going to combine their efforts together. So Sam has a rate of one room in 6 hours. Jenna has a rate of one room in 4 hours. Well, what is it when they work together? That means we're going to add their rates together. So what is 1/6 plus 1/4? Well, we could use our calculators here. I mean, if we wanted to do the math without a calculator, we would need a common denominator. It'd be a common denominator of 24, and so I'd have to multiply this one by 4 over 4, and I'd have to multiply this one by 6 over 6. Now, I wouldn't do like a clearing denominators method here because I'm not, solving for x kind of thing. I just wonder, what is 1/6 plus 1/4? And to add two fractions together, I do need a common denominator. It would end up as 4 over 24 plus 6 over 24 comes out to be 10 over 24, which reduces down to 5 over 12. And try to get a context of what this is saying. Again, this is a rate of task over time, and the task for this problem is number of rooms. So working together, they can paint 5 rooms in 12 hours. They can paint 5 rooms in 12 hours. And again, let me just show you how we did it on our calculator. If I were just to take, I'd put in parentheses 1/6, and then I would add 1/4. Now 1/4 is a common one. We could say 0.25 if we wanted to. And it would give me 0.41666666. But if you hit the math and then enter twice buttons, it'll convert it to a fraction for you of 5/12. So you could use your calculator for that math. But that can't be the answer because it doesn't say like what's the rate. The rate is 5 rooms in 12 hours. It wants to know how long will it take them to paint one room. So we need to set up a proportion then. A rate of 5 rooms in 12 hours is equivalent to 1 room in how many hours? And so we set up a little proportion here and cross multiply. We'll get 5x equals 12, and we end up dividing by 5. So x is 5 over 12, which comes out to be, get my calculator to do the math for me, 5 divided by 12 comes out to be 2.4 hours. So 2.4 hours. And as with all math that we do, your answer should really make sense. I mean, think about it. It takes Sam 6 hours to paint a room. Jenna could do it in 4. So since Jenna can paint one room in 4 hours, you would think if she works with Sam, it's going to be less than 4 hours, and it is. It's 2.4 hours working together. So it's significantly less time. But that number makes sense. If it came out to be 17 hours, then obviously you did something wrong. Working together, it takes Sam, Jenna, and Francisco 2 hours to paint one room. So working together, Sam plus Jenna plus Francisco can paint one room in 2 hours. And so what is the ratio of rooms painted per hour for the three of them? It's 1 to 2. Well, using this information, we could figure out Francisco's rate for one room on his own. We know Sam is 1/6 of a rate. We know Jenna is one room in 4 hours. We do not know Francisco's rate, but we know together all of them have a combined effort of one room in 2 hours. So just, solve this a little math here. We already know that 1/6 plus 1/4 is 5/12 plus F equals 1/2. And so then we can, subtract 5/12 minus 5/12, and we'll get Francisco's rate. Again, your calculator can do that math for you, but I can think of 1/2 as 6/12 minus 5/12 comes out to be 1/12. So Francisco is pretty slow. He can paint one room in 12 hours. So he's not a very good painter. All right, so that's a great example, this question of a task over time rational equation word problem type of stuff. And if anytime they tell you about a task in a set amount of time, use that task over time format and add fractions together and let your calculator help you. On the next page, or next example here, talks about Anne and Maria play tennis together. And it says, so far Anne has won 12 out of 20 matches. And it wants to know what is her winning percentage. So this isn't really a task over time. It's more of a percentage question. But still, 12 out of 20 is, 12 out of 20. And so to do the winning percentage, I simply need to know what is 12 divided by 20. 12 divided by 20. And we get 0.6. So this comes out to equal 0.6. And the way we turn that then into a percentage is multiply it by 100, and it becomes 60%. So Anne's winning percentage is 60%. That's what 12 out of 20 is. If Anne wins 5 more games in a row, what is her winning percentage for the 25 games? So it was 12/20, and we're adding 5. And we're adding 5 to the top end. She won 5 games, and obviously she played 5 more games too. So we're talking about a 17 out of 25 winning percentage. What does that come out to be? Now, she won 5 games in a row, so we should expect it to be higher than 60%. 17 out of 25 is higher than 60%. It is 68%. 0.68 comes out to be 68%. Which then we times 100 comes out to be 68%. Times 100, what's really happening is you're moving the decimal point over 2 spots. How many matches will Anne have to win in a row to improve her winning percentage to 75%? Now, let's say this question doesn't say starting at the 17 or whatever. Let's say from the 12/20. Because this was if Anne wins 5 more. She didn't do that yet. She's won 12 out of 20. We know that. How many more will she have to win to get a 75% rate? So she's going to have to add X amount of wins to her 12 wins and X, that same amount to her amount of games that she played. I mean, think about it. If she, like in this scenario, she won 5 more, so her win total went up 5 and her game total went up 5. Well, the same type of thing here. We don't know how many games in a row she must win, but whatever I increase my win total by, it's also going to increase the amount of games she played by. And I want this to equal 75%, but that is 0.75 as a decimal, kind of going backwards there. And we could solve this. This is a proportion. You can turn 0.75 into a fraction, or you can leave it 0.75 and cross multiply as it in decimal form if you'd like. A little cross multiplying here. Let's just put that over 1. 12 plus x equals 0.75 times 20. and that's going to come out to be 15. Because 0.75 is 3/4. But like I said, you could use your calculator. You could type 0.75 times 20. 0.75 times 20 is 15. And 0.75x plus 0.75x. Like I said, if you'd rather work with the fractions, you can make 0.75 into 3/4. And I could have made this 3/4 and cross-multiplied with 3/4. That's fine too. Let's see, but I'll keep it what I have right now. I'll subtract 12 over here to get 3. I'll minus 0.75 to get 0.25x. Remember, this is 1. And 1 minus 0.75 is 0.25, which is the same thing as a fourth. X equals 3. And I'll have to divide by 0.25, which is the same thing as multiplying by a reciprocal of 4 over 1. Works out to be x equals 12. Again, your calculator can help you with this math here if you'd like, but sometimes you'll have that choice between a decimal and fraction form. Like I said, you may have thought it would be easier to just make this 3/4, cross multiply with 3/4, and then not have any decimals or fractions and stuff like that. That's fine. Works both ways. But if she wins 12 games in a row, her winning percentage will go up 75%. How many matches will it take her to win to improve to 90%? And really, it would be the same thing. We could do 12 plus how many games, 20 plus how many games will increase it to 90%, which is 0.9, or as a fraction, that's the same thing as 9/10. So I could just make it 9 over 10 like that and cross multiply from there. Or I could do 0.9 over 1 and cross multiply from there. There's a lot of options there. But let me go with this, and so that'll be 120 plus 10x equals 180 plus 9x. Subtract 9x, subtract 120 is 60. So if she wins 60 games in a row, her winning percentage will increase to 90%. And the last question, can Anne reach a winning percentage of 100%? And the answer is no. Because she has already lost 8 matches. I know that because she started off, she had 12 wins out of 20, which means if she had 12 wins out of 20, she lost 8 out of 20 times. And to get 100%, that means you have to have the top and the bottom the same amount. No matter what I add both of these numbers by, they will never become the same amount because they are not the same amount. So she will never quite get to 100%. She could get it pretty close, even to like the 0.99%, 99%, but she will never quite get to exactly 100% because she's not undefeated. She's lost 8 matches already, so that is not possible to get these two numbers to be the same by adding the same thing. And you can kind of write that out and explain that there. All right, so rational word problems, again, remember task over time when it tells you about this in this amount of time, and for percentages, it's, just kind of a part over whole scenario and working with that. All right, so that is rational expression word problems. See ya.